Hello, everyone. This is Mr. Informal back with the podcast. We are on the 22nd edition of Mr. Informal podcast. Man, it's been a crazy year, I guess, so far. Not only that, I've been doing a lot of things. And so I'm bringing you this podcast for today. Again, it is the 22nd edition of this podcast. You hear a sound earlier. That was actually my notebook falling down, all my notes raining on it. So there are four topics. The LGG6 has been recently announced and will be released soon, but the LGG6 is in a dilemma. Number two, Samsung Galaxy S8, and this is where the LG G6 will correlate with what I'm about to talk about later in the podcast. Number three, drones. Are they good or bad? Because it's been used for good things and it's been used for bad things. And then the fourth and final topic is tech assistance fragmentation. What I mean by that is if you look at your smartphones, you got OK Google, you got Siri, you got Bixby, you got Cortana, you got so many options, and somehow they all are in their own ecosystem. And I forgot to mention Alexa, Amazon Alexa. And so with those topics, let's get on with the podcast. But first and foremost, I hope you are all doing I hope you are all having a good day and night, whatever time you're listening to this podcast. Anyways, let's get on with the podcast. So again, I go by the name of Mr. Informal. Check out my website, mrinformal.com, for your blogging, basically tech and fashion blog. Check it out. I also create my own stuff. Check out my store. You can find some good stuff in my store. So the first topic is the LG G6 dilemma. So the Samsung Galaxy S8 has been recently announced and presented to the public. And where does that leave LG G6? What I mean by that is, one, the LG G6 is using basically an old CPU, which is the Snapdragon 821, not the 835, because Qualcomm made a deal with Samsung that Samsung S8 will get the Snapdragon 835. The second one is this screen. They both had similar screens, but it seems like all the attention has suddenly went to the Samsung Galaxy S8. Third, the fragmentation of different models of the G6 that leaves the consumer very confused, especially in Europe, which I feel sorry for. I did talk about this in my previous opinions and thoughts and analysis on my LG G6. And so, not only that, what does the LG G6 bring to the table that the Samsung Galaxy S8 app? Could it be the manual video? Could it be the DAX, audio DAX? I'm looking at spec by spec. I could see the video, the manual video and the audio DAX. But other than that, what does LG G6 bring to the table to Samsung Galaxy S8? Because a lot of people have been waiting for the S8 to be released. There were anticipation with the LG G6, but LG has to ask themselves, where does that leave us? Even though we released our LG G6 2 weeks before the Samsung Galaxy S8. The LG G6 I think should be releasing anytime soon. I think could be this week or next week. And Samsung Galaxy S8 should follow through maybe in the next 2 to 3 weeks. And that's not enough time because consumers will wait and compare the two. And that's what a lot of journalism, blog sites, YouTube's, different channels, videos have been comparing to. And it seems like the S8 has the upper hand. Now, don't get me wrong, I have an LG G5 here, so I'm not biased to the S8. But the fact is what does, in terms of the consumer, when they are looking at it, would you pay $750 to the LG G6, or would you pay $800, or however the amount of price that the S8 will have? Would you pay to have the highest spec, or would you pay for the lower spec even though it's cheaper, which is the LG G6? Now I'm looking at basically you might as well get the higher spec, because I'm not buying the LG G6 because it lost the battery removable feature. That's why I bought the LG G5. Now if I'm going to basically buy a waterproof phone, sealed battery, then I might as well go with the S8, because the S8 is the highest spec. It has the latest and greatest CPU. Not only that, it has a better display in my opinion due to AMOLED and always on, which always on is better on AMOLED than LCD, which the LG G6 has. So that has me baffled. What does the LG G6 bring to the table now that a Galaxy S8 is out? It's really hard to even justify the LG G6. Not only that, what about people in Europe? Okay, the people in Europe will get the LG G6 model, which doesn't have wireless charging. It doesn't have a higher storage and the audio DAC. So now they're gonna look at it and say, okay, if I'm gonna lose this much and pay almost at the same price, then I might as well go to S8. And us US people will get the wireless charging, but we won't get the higher end audio DAC such as in Asia. So why am I taking a loss with LG G6 when I can get the higher spec in the S8, which probably has wireless charging, obviously better display, higher storage capacity, and depending on how good the audio is, I mean, we'll see. So that leaves LG scratching their head, and that has me baffled. I mean, it seems like LG is in a dilemma here, and I'm looking at them and say, why didn't you just go all out with the LG G6? I mean, to me, I would rather sacrifice the waterproof feature than to remove the removable battery feature. But you can still engineer the phone to have waterproof and have a removable battery in the case of Samsung Galaxy S5, for those of you people who forget about that phone. And so it's really hard to make a case for LG G6. If I was a phone representative or someone selling a phone, telling you which one would I think is better, I mean, it's really hard to make a case for the LG G6 here. Man, the smartphones industry are heating up. Every day there's always someone new, there's always a new company or some new model that is topping out the best of the best. And so with that, let's get on with the latest announcement of Samsung announcing the Samsung Galaxy S8. Now the Samsung Galaxy S8 has a radical change in terms of display. They call it the infinity display, from top to bottom, almost a near bezel-less display. Obviously it keeps the wireless charging. Not only that, no more home button, no more Samsung logo on the front. Everything has been moved to the back, so no more home button. So everything is now on screen buttons. And the fingerprint scanner has been moved to the back on the right side of the camera, which is an odd choice. Why couldn't they just put the bottom on the bottom of the camera and place the laser focus on the top of the camera to make everything symmetrical? And so you have two models: Galaxy S8, the regular model, which rocks a 5-inch screen, and the S8 Plus, which rocks a 6.2. I think it should be around the 6.2. And it's interesting how suddenly this changes the whole design aspect of the smartphone industry. Oh, and I forgot to mention, they also added the iris scanning feature for those who prefer unlocking the phone with their eyes. And it seems like across the board, meaning across the world, we'll have the same models, every specs in every country except China, because Samsung looks like they will release a 6 gigabyte of RAM in the S8 in China, which I really don't understand why. They might as well just make it a 4 gigabyte so everything to be consistent. But whatever, it's almost like I'm paying more for less compared to China's S8. But everyone's talking about that screen ratio, which is similar to the LG G6, which is the 18 by 5.9. The LG G6 has 18 by 5. No, 18 by 9. I'm sorry, 18 by 9. 18 by around there. And so, no more home button, no more Samsung. So it's a departure from their previous models, which always had the home button down in the middle. And what do I think of this phone? I mean, I would certainly think it's a perfect phone if it had a removable battery feature, because I've always been a fan of removable batteries. Always come in handy whenever my battery's low. I don't have to charge it. I can just pop it in, boom, 100%. Real easy, right? And the whole industry, the whole tech industry is buzzing about it. They love the feature. Not only that, I haven't hold one, but I've been told that when you hold it, it feels really small. It's really comfortable to hold because it's almost like you can use one-handed. The only bad thing is, since it's so tall, you can't get to the notification slider and slide it down. That's the only bad thing about it. Not only that, the fingerprint scanners are reach. But it's okay, because I'm loving the fact that it can be held with one hand, or it can be navigated with one hand. And the only thing that I personally do not like is the colors that's coming out. They have this silver and black, and man, these colors are too tame, too dull. I need colors. I need blue, I need red, Iron Man red, whatever red you want to call it. I need the emerald green back on the Samsung Galaxy S6. If you know what I'm talking about, check the video on the emerald green. I think it's beautiful. And so another thing that I personally don't like is the moniker Plus. Seriously, why don't you just call it Galaxy S8 XL, or maybe Galaxy S8 Large? You know, why do you need to be Plus? Why does Samsung blatantly have to copy Apple every time? Come on, Samsung, you're big enough or bigger enough than Apple to not even do this at all. But Koreans, I really don't understand it. Asians, they always have to do this all the damn time. Anyways, so those are my thoughts of Galaxy S8. I'll just have to wait and see and check out in the local carrier store and grab a hold of it and see what's going on. And so on to the third topic, drones, good or bad. Let me just talk about the bad thing here, okay? Terrorism has been used. The terrorists have been using drones to drop bombs, grenades, all types of warfare artilleries onto the battlefield. Meaning, if you go to the Middle East, obviously the US is fighting over there, and terrorists are using drones to drop bombs on the soldiers, on the US soldiers. And to combat that, the US are actually using some type of antenna or interference device to stop the operation of these drones being flown over them. So, and that's one of the biggest con is in the battlefield. Another con is obviously we got these perverts using these drones to peep out in the window, or women to spy on people, all types of just bad stuff. And then another big thing is that we got drones flying in the airport, messing up the airplane landings, messing up the rotors. These people really need to stop flying these drones next to the airport. Come on, these are dangerous places. If you want to fly a drone, fly in an open field area, just not in the airport, or not where it's crowded, or not where you can spy on people. Come on. I mean, why do people, every time there's something of a great device or great item, why do people have to ruin it for everybody else, right? The good thing, let's talk about the good thing. The good thing is obviously Amazon is using drones to ship items to you probably in the next hour, in the next 2 hours. That's great, right? A lot of benefits. Another thing is delivery, such as Amazon, but it could also be used for other things too. And third thing is cameras, meaning if you go to a football field, soccer field, it can be used for multiple viewing angles. That's great. Another thing is that if you wanna do a tour of an area of a land or of a country, then you can use drone to do that, like a shot, and for touring purposes, or touring videos for tourists. Another great thing is that if you have a drone and you're doing car reviews, you can, they can video record you wherever you go, and so that's great for filming. Obviously, drones are being used for filming, and it's such a big feature. It's such a big helpful thing to have, and so those are the good things. But with so many drones nowadays, obviously the FAA and also government regulations have to regulate these drones to ensure proper safety to us people, because obviously there are people out there who are using and abusing these drones for I don't know why. Don't get me wrong, I have a cousin that uses drone, and whenever we go to cemetery to visit his aunt and his uncle, he flies the drone, to check out the area. But we're not disturbing anybody. We're just, enjoying the open field here. But these drones have to be at least used in our advantage, because they're helpful. You can't abuse it. I mean, I've seen there's even one where they have a contest of drone flying inside the arena or outside the arena, where they go through courses. Now that's fun. I have to say that's really fun. I don't care who you are, but that looks fun. But at the same time, all these bad things, it really needs to stop. Because I'm really getting sick and tired of seeing drones in every news having to have some kind of effect on people, bad effects. And it just makes me realize that no matter what we do, no matter what kind of advice that we as humans put out, whatever invention, there's always somebody, always have to ruin it for somebody else. And I'm not trying to say that we're not humans, because we are, and sooner or later someone will do that. But for the sake of humanity, you got to stop doing these things. It's always amazed me that it's the drones have given us an advantage, giving us some kind of vision of what the future could look like in terms of deliveries, in terms of cameras, in terms of benefiting the film industry, even benefiting us as human race, whatever good use it may be. But again, there's always people out there. Sorry to say that multiple times, but I just want to make sure you get my message straight. And so let's get on to the last topic, which is the tech artificial intelligence assistants, whatever you want to call it. I'm going to list them all out with the current fame. Obviously, Samsung has recently announced Bixby. We got Amazon Alexa, OK Google, and Apple Siri, and also Windows Cortana. So what does it all mean? Well, basically it means that to, I guess, help us, but in all honesty, I think it's to make our lives easier. This is the point of these things, is to make our lives easier, interact with our device, also to make sure we do the things quickly so we can do other productive things. But the fact is, here's the problem that I see it. First of all, it's fragmentation. There's just too many. Not only that, they're in their own ecosystem. First of all, Siri is only locked into Apple. I mean, there's times when Siri can communicate with Alexa. Alexa is locked in Amazon ecosystem. Google is also locked on their ecosystem, but Google also has the biggest audience because they have the Google Wi-Fi. They also have Android, which every Android phone has. That means if you have an Android phone, that means you have Google Assistant. Then you got Windows Cortana, which only works in Windows Phone and also Windows PCs and laptops. So again, it's their own ecosystem. And then you got Bixby, it's only Samsung ecosystem. So how does a consumer know which assistants to go by? Now, I've seen mostly people buy Alexa because in the commercials and even tech videos, they show that Alexa ordering food for you. Alexa can turn on the air conditioner, turn on the heater, as long as your home is connected via Wi-Fi. And so that's great. Same thing with Google. But the fact is that there's too much fragmentation again, because they're locked into their ecosystem. Basically, whatever ecosystem survives and wins is going to be the AI of the future. If somehow right now the two biggest AI that I know of is Google Assistant and also Amazon Alexa. Those are the two biggest that are basically punching each other out. Because Amazon has a big fan base due to Amazon Prime and just Amazon Echo and Alexa. And then we also have Google. Obviously, any Android phone you have OK Google. So now basically Google Assistant saying helping you out with the weather and all so and so, and then Alexa making you buy this and so and so. So what wins? Now consumer does win if one of them survives, because when they become mature, then the consumers are ready for it. Then they don't have to go through problems. And now, but the fact is that if a consumer buys it now they have to be locked into their system, and they can't switch over to the other system unless they buy a new ecosystem. But the fact is that there's just too much fragmentation here. We got these companies have to get along with each other, but there's just too much pride within these companies to let one of them go to one another and say, hey, can we work with each other? You know, to me, Amazon has the biggest advantage here because of Amazon shopping. So if Amazon works with Google, then it's almost like Google has lost or is losing here. But the fact is, if Google can tap into Amazon Alexa and they can talk to each other, it's a win-win situation, right? But I'm not sure if that's happening right now. And I would like to see Siri also crossing over, but it seems like Apple is not taking the connected home seriously. It's almost like Siri is just right there. It's, you know, if you want the weather, you know, if you want to search for something, yeah, it's Siri, it's there. But man, the consumer is so confused right now because when I say, okay Google, you know, what's the weather like and what's the game like, what's the score like, and so, I'm still locked into okay Google. But if I go to Amazon Alexa, I'm sure it has much more full featured, because I think Alexa was built for the home, not for the phone. Because when Google started, it was built in the phone. Same thing with Siri. And so hopefully a lot of these tech companies work it out, and we as a consumer will win when everything suddenly works out and someone comes out on top. And so that basically concludes this podcast of Mr. Informal. It is the edition number 22 of Mr. Informal podcast. Again, check out my website, mrinformal.com. I put a link down in the description. Also check out my store, check out my items, you know, whatever it could be. And so hopefully you learned something from this podcast, and I will see you in the next podcast. Mr. Informal signing out. Bye-bye.